Hey, thanks for walking with me today. It's great to see you and connect with you even in this virtual way. So good to have the opportunity to walk with you in a few more verses from the book of Matthew. So here's where our story begins. And Jesus, walking along the Sea of Galilee, saw two brothers, Simon, also called Peter, and his brother Andrew. They were casting their nets into the sea. They were the fishermen. Jesus called them and said, "Follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men." At once, they left their nets and followed Jesus. Then he came upon two other brothers, John the son of Zebedee and his brother James, sitting in their boat with their father Zebedee, mending their nets. Jesus called them, and they left their father in the boat and followed him. Jesus traveled throughout Galilee, teaching in the synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing all who had sicknesses or any disease or torment. His fame spread throughout all Syria, and people brought to him those who were sick and demon-possessed and suffering various torments, those with epilepsy, those who were paralytic, and he healed them all. Great crowds followed him from Galilee, Decapolis, Judea, Jerusalem, and beyond the Jordan. And that's where our story today ends. At the beginning of the story, you have Jesus walking alongside the Sea of Galilee and seeing two sets of brothers. Simon, also called Peter, and his brother Andrew, and John and his brother James. To the four of them, in two different instances, he calls them to follow him. The first set, he says, "Follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men." I wonder what it might have felt like to John and to James and to Simon and to Andrew to have Jesus, this itinerant rabbi, call them to follow him. What might that have felt like? And do we learn anything about them? That they were willing to do so. They left everything, leaving their nets, leaving their father in the boat. They followed Jesus. They abandoned their profession to follow Jesus. Man. And Jesus then traveled throughout all Galilee, teaching, preaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing all who was sick and demon-possessed. What we learn about the gospel that he taught, he preached, and he healed. All three of those things accompany that. And this gospel of the kingdom, we're going to hear more about that in the coming weeks as we walk into the Sermon on the Mount next in the book of Matthew. But here, Jesus had all kinds of different things he could have done, and yet we see him teaching, preaching, and healing. Do you learn anything about Jesus? That we see him going to all Galilee to teach, preach, and heal. It was after he'd done that his fame spread, and then people brought to him those who were sick with various maladies from all over the place, and he healed them all. Do you learn anything about Jesus, guys? That he went to people. Do you learn anything about them? That when people came to him, he healed them. What might that tell you about the character, about the purpose, the person of Jesus? And then great crowds followed him. Now these are people he hadn't called, but felt called to follow him, right? From Galilee, Decapolis, Judea, Jerusalem, and beyond the Jordan. It's like this overwhelming movement, right? When Jesus begins his ministry. So, in the story, we noticed that Simon and Andrew and James and John left everything and followed Jesus. I'm wondering, today do we see people leave things behind to follow Jesus? What might that look like today? What have you, or some of you known, left behind or given up on or turned away from in order to follow Jesus? Hey, have a great week, and may the fullness of the joy of following Jesus be yours today. Thanks for listening in.